So we would like to welcome Allison, who is from Brisbane.
Hi.
And I want to thank you for the journey that you've been on and the journey that we've been on, and to be so willing to share that with others, because we all travel a financial journey and we all go on the wrong road at times. But as long as we get back and we get to our destination, that's what matters. And so, Allison, I just want you to share a little bit about yourself so that our listeners can get to know you as a person.
Okay. Hi, my name's Allison. I'm 33 years old from Brisbane, as Sherry said, and I'm a clinical psychologist, and I'm engaged, soon to be married in September this year. And I guess just being a psychologist, I'm an ENFJ, which is the Myers-Briggs personality type. So I'm an extrovert, and I guess I've just done the course, and it's been really good. So thanks, Sherry.
Thank you, Allison. Okay, and so as a kid, we all have dreams when we're a kid of what we want to be when we're an adult, and what we want to be, as well as our financial status. What were your dreams as a child?
I guess initially, as a kid, I just wanted what any child wants. I just thought, just to be, I don't know, carefree. I wanted to get married. I also wanted to travel. But I guess, early on, I think when I was probably about 9 or 10, I went through a phase of wanting to be it's going to sound silly, but wanting to be an actress. And I actually joined a drama club and was in a few of the school musicals and choirs and things. So that was fun. But then I probably around the age of 17, 18, as we all do, like you think about what do you want to do, go to uni. And as an adolescent, this is going to sound lame again, but I watched a lot of Oprah and Dr. Phil.
Yes.
And they were like, I was just a weird child. I just watched Dr. Phil. I'd never known what a psychologist was. I never knew what that was like. And then I saw him on Oprah, and then I was like, wow. And at that time, I think I didn't even know how to spell the word psychology. And here I am 33 years later, and it's a 33-year-old woman. And I'm a clinical psychologist. So that was kind of a big journey. And I started, I think, counseling as soon as I left high school. I think I was working at Lifeline as a volunteer, and just being a counselor. And back then, you didn't really have to have a lot of training. You just had to do a training course, and it was all volunteer, and you didn't get paid. And I'm really grateful for that now. But looking back, I was very young to be dealing with suicide calls. And that was fun.
And that would have been a huge accomplishment to become what you wanted to be. My next question is, as a child, what was your kind of first experience with money that might have set your mindset up for the rest of your life, whether it was a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, I guess traditionally growing up, my parents were like, my dad was off at work. My mum had 3 children. I have an older brother and a younger brother. And my older brother has autism, and pretty severe autism. He's still on disability. But my mum was a stay-at-home mum for many, many years, and looked after the money. But again, I guess my earliest experience of money was that, we had to often rob Peter to pay Paul, and my parents would well, my mum in particular, like she would just find ways to make us get through the hard times, but she also had really high expectations in the sense that she wanted all three of us to go to private schools. And I just remember, it was a big deal back then that we all went to private schools,
Yeah.
especially for my older brother. They didn't want him to, because back then there was zero funding for autism and you had to pay for everything yourself. So, I just remember them, just therapies, and then him going to a good school, and then myself needing to go to a good school. But it was all about the school fees. How we're going to pay for the school fees, and
Yeah.
we would, we would just, mum and dad often would argue, and it was usually around finances.
And so as a child, did you see yourself as rich or poor?
Probably poor, behind closed doors. So, in terms of what we would show externally, I think that my parents, like my dad was a really high income earner, but they would probably, you could say, spend more than they had.
Yes, which
so they
is
had,
so normal. That is
yes,
so normal.
yes.
Yeah.
So we had like cars, and then they were decent cars, but you could look at it on paper, and we all went to private schools, and
Yeah.
dad had a good income, so it looked externally. But I'd never had any birthday parties or anything like that, because the house was always getting renovated, or doing something. It wouldn't necessarily match up to what my peers had.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So I would always go and get invited to like holidays with my friends, but my family never went on holidays. It was just
Yeah.
purely sacrifice for the school fees and therapies for my older brother. And that was it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's amazing how the things that we as a child, and how that does affect how we think about money, how we utilize our money in the future. So I want to, let's move forward in time today. Today, April 2022. What are your feelings about finances now? Just share words of feelings of what comes to your mind now.
I think now I'm in a really good place financially. I feel confident. That would be a really good word. I feel proud. I still feel a little bit anxious because I know that I've made some mistakes, and that's not good. And I know that I have a tendency to, probably slip up every now and again, and be, in denial with my own frivolous spending.
That's just financial aware. So you have financial awareness, which is great, because some people do that and they don't feel guilty or even care.
Oh, yes.
So,
no, I do.
So
I have the guilt, and but at the same time, I think there's a big difference, because it's good to feel like, because being a psychologist, it's good to feel guilty, right? Because then you're talking about a behavior. But I think when I have made financial mistakes in the past, in my early 20s, late 20s, I was probably feeling shame about it. And I would tell no one. And that's when you feel like you're a bad person, rather than you did a bad thing or you made a mistake.
Exactly. And we will get into that, because that's such a good example, and that a lot of people will resonate with. And so, so right now you're feeling confident, you're feeling proud. I'm proud of you, that. And, but it wasn't always that way. And so how did you feel prior to February 2020, which was only a few months ago before you met me? What were your feelings then?
Like we were talking about, a lot of pain, disappointment, sadness, shame, you know, fear. I would say that the underlying emotion behind all the anger and all of that pain would have been fear. So I was fearing losing my relationship with my partner, fearing what my future would look like, and then doubt, a lot of doubt about how I would survive and have that knowledge, because it was really hard. Yeah. So
Yeah. And I remember the day that we met. What advice would you give your old self with what you know today? Just in one sentence, what would you tell your old self in regards to your finances?
If you look for the right people with the right knowledge, it'll be okay. And that's really important, because and also, even if what you had envisioned didn't work out, it'll be okay. You'll be all right.
Yeah, that's so good. And there are so many money gurus out there. And you know, and you do have to find one that you trust and that is honest with you, that you can, because it's a very personal thing, finances, yet we all do it. So, you know, as much as it's personal, it's something, it's not unique to us. So then what did you do next? So you were in January, you were feeling these feelings. What was your next step? What did you do?
So so I guess I'd done the hard yards. Like I got myself out of debt, which was one thing, but I'd made a kind of a promise to my fiance that, you know, we would be saving towards the wedding. So I was just spending what I made and not saving. So I guess, what did I do next? And I said, look, I still, like, he had been helping me a lot. And he was like, why aren't you contributing to the wedding fund that we've put together? And I said, well, and we had a big tiff about it. And I said, well, I don't know, like, I'm not doing it. So yeah, I guess that we had a big argument, as you do. And then I said, well, I just can't manage finances. I don't have the knowledge. I'm not that great at it. You know this. That's why you've been helping me for the past however long. And I said, well, and also it wasn't fair to him, because I mean, he's great with money. He's really frugal. He's awesome. And that's why I guess I depended on him to kind of take that. And also, it had been modeled to me through my parents' dynamic, except it was a role reversal. My mum did all of the finances, and dad just, you know, worked and said, hey, where's my money? And that was me, you know. So I was just kind of not in a negative way or financially abusive way. I had access to all my accounts, everything like that. It was just that I never done it, and I didn't know how to, and I didn't know have the mathematical like I'm really good at stats. I'm really good at, you know, book learning and mathematics in a rote learning way, and that kind of thing. But in terms of the day to day and working it out and predicting it, I just don't have the time, and it wasn't a priority for me.
Yet it brought that fear. And so would I be correct in saying that you had a parent-child relationship?
Oh, yeah, totally. Totally. It wasn't fair to him, and he would resent me. Yeah, totally.
He's someone that you're going to marry and you become an equal.
Yes.
And so that would have been a great motivation.
Yeah, it was, because he had helped me a lot, you know, just telling me, you know, even the wedding budget, like working it out and trying to figure it out together. And then also prior to that, I had a huge amount of debt, and not a lot of savings, if at all, much at all. But you know, we're getting married. He was getting tired of that, and I can understand that. And he wanted a partner rather than like someone he had to, you know, manage. So, or I should say support and help, but maybe a little bit tipping over the balance. So we had a big fight, and I said, well, I don't know
Yeah.
what to do. Maybe I should go to, and this is going to sound no disrespect to the essential spending planner, but I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know anything about money, and you shouldn't be doing this, and I don't want you to do this because it, you know, I'm always asking for money, and like, I don't know if I can spend that amount or I can't. And, you know, and he's like, I don't know, like, that's not my responsibility. So I said, what about my budget? And we looked into my budget, but at that stage for me, I think my budget was a little bit more for people that were in a serious amount of trouble and had to negotiate and have someone really kind of take on the creditors and advocate. And it was so expensive. Like, it was like hugely expensive when we had that chat with them. And then so, you know, and we just kind of were like, you know, how can I trust you with money? Is what Adam was worried about. He's like, I want you to be able to figure out your own finances and trust you, basically. So it boiled down to trust. And because I had kept, just in the past, sorry, I'd kept my financial situation, I guess, under wraps pretty well, similar to what I'd grown up with at home.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, we'd been together for 13 years, but around 7 or 8 years into it, we're starting to get serious. Like, I'm in my later 20s, and, you know, he's in his early mid 30s. And then I think, you know, we'd been on and off, but we were now like ready to commit and plan and
Yeah.
all of
And
that.
so,
And
so what did Adam do?
well, he actually found you because he's really good. So I think he found you on Facebook, I think it was, and he'd heard about Essential Spending Planner, and he often goes to the like property seminars and is really good in terms of networking and things. So he'd actually found you, and he said, right, I think I know this would be way better for you and your situation. And it's actually going to teach you, as you said, Sherry, it's going to teach you how to fish rather than, what's that saying? I can't remember the
Yeah,
saying.
you can give a man a fish every day, or you can teach him how to fish.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
right.
So
Where
that's
the
kind
my
of
budget,
is
they
the other.
more just
Yeah.
they get you out of debt or get you thing, but they're not teaching you
No.
where I want to teach you so that you can then teach your future children and others. And so let's just go back in time. We'll come back to that moment where we had our where we met. But I want you to say what were the struggles? And you kind of have mentioned a few that you had your financial literacy kind of.
Oh, so bad. My struggles. Well, three key things is that I'd always seen people borrow money. So that was a huge struggle for me to accept that it's not okay. You know, like, you're going to have to pay it back, and this is real life. So, you know, like, that was a huge thing, and you're messing with your own life and how serious it is. And I didn't realize how serious it was. So that was a few key struggle moments for me, is going, whoa, you know, this is serious. Like, this is messing with my life. What am I going to do? Because I had a business as well at one point, private practice. And I'm like, what am I going to do if I can't have enough money for the tax man, you know? And I've potentially maxed out credit cards or something like that. So the first struggle with money was probably that, is recognizing the seriousness and the gravity. And how
you had
hard.
tried budgets, but they kind of weren't working.
No, because I'd
what
always
was your
stuff it
mindset
up.
when you were in your early 20s and, you know, racking up your
a
debt?
lot of
Was
debt.
it just, did you have this sense of entitlement and have your head in the sand, just think, hey, my friends are doing it, so I'm going to do it, and I
that was a
deserve it
huge
because I
thing.
work hard?
Yeah. So I had look, I didn't really drink, I didn't really smoke, I didn't go clubbing. I was a very kind of technically good And not that's bad, but I wasn't a party animal. My only struggle was probably material things like and experiences. So like clothes and fashion. I loved clothes and fashion. And so that was a huge thing for me. And I didn't realize how, $50 here, $100 there on a dress, or $50 on makeup, and it adds up. And when you swipe, it was a sense of entitlement when you swipe the credit card. Oh, I'm going to be this psychologist one day.
Yeah,
I can pay it
yeah,
off.
I'm just gonna, yeah.
I'm working so hard,
Yeah, you were practicing spending on the wage that you're
before.
going to make in the future.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I
In
was
fact, I
kind of,
want to just poke in now because we have a friend who's watching, Sandy, who
hi.
is in your class, and we also have Giza and Avi, so they're ones that are following in. So thank you for joining us. And if you have any questions, please put them in the chat and we can answer that. And so tell me, in your late 20s or whenever it was, what was the amount, and feel free not to tell the actual amount, but what kind of debt did you get into?
I got myself, I think in my early 20s, like I got myself into like 40 grand's worth of debt. A part of that was a car. So, it's not as bad as what I think people, like she didn't just spend 40 grand on like clothes. So part of that I think was like a car. I can't remember how much the car was, but it was probably around, I don't know, 17, 18. And then I had a few holidays around Australia with my then, who's now my fiance. But he was a lot older than me, and I didn't have that kind of money, and I didn't want to miss out. So I would just going to say Sydney or Canberra, or sorry, not Canberra, WA and things like that. Like I didn't have that money. I was a student and I was working part-time.
And so it sounds like all your debt was consumer debt.
Yes.
Consumer debt is anything that you buy loses value. Cars lose value, everything. So you were spending money without saving it first.
Correct.
And so that, how did it make you feel when you got to the point where you had to, that you realized, I got to stop this and I have to start getting this paid off?
It was pretty bad because the point was, I think that, like you said, I realized how bad it was when you have that reflective moment, and it's only through relationship that presented its gravity to me. And I'd actually thought up this really cool scheme because I was renting with a couple of girlfriends, and I wanted a really nice house and to rent, and I wanted to be the head tenant, but I had all of these people, paying me rent, and so I was kind of the person paying the rent back, and I thought I would rent out all the rooms, and we had about 4 rooms, but there was part vacancy rates. So, like I think, and some girls didn't pay. And so that also contributed to my debt. And then I was worried that I wouldn't be able to pay the rent, and then how that would affect because I was the person that was responsible, how that's going to affect my credit, and then also how that's going to affect my ability to rent in the future. Because if you don't pay.
That's right. And so what were your feelings though, when you realized, and the day that you realized, and what motivated you when you had that 40,000 debt? What were those feelings that was your motivation, that I need to do something different? I need to get rid of this debt. How was it feel?
It was extremely traumatic. I would call it financial trauma, because I think it is a form of trauma. It's accumulative, and it's like the boiling frog. It gradually builds up, and you don't realize it until it's too late. And I think with my I should say it's never too late. But my partner, he sat me down and he's like, I see a future with you. Like we're like in a really good place. And then I got huge anxiety and fear about disclosing my financial status to him, because at that point I was making out that I'm really good with my finances.
Yes,
And like, you don't need to worry about anything, baby. I got you back. I'm gonna be
yeah,
this really good person.
yeah,
It's all good and dependable and reliable. Because I was really kicking goals in every other aspect of my life. But then I guess sadness, and because he was potentially like, oh my God, I don't know if this is a deal breaker. You kept
yeah,
this from me, and I don't know like what to do, and this is really, and that was kind of like, because he was my best friend, and I was like, and my partner, and yeah, he was like shocked. So I think
yeah,
it was a combination of shock, fear, trauma,
yeah.
just a,
And
yeah, numbness, and
yeah,
just going through the motions there. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
And that love that you had for him, you were willing to do whatever it took. Tell me
Yeah.
how many years it took you to pay it off and what you ate.
Oh, um, yeah. Well, I actually, yeah, probably I would say all up around 3.5, maybe 4 years. But at that stage, it came at quite a cost health wise. So,
Mhm.
like you said, what I eat. So I actually put on lots of weight during that time. And I was working my ass off, and at that point I think I'd become a psychologist, and the costs involved of even becoming a psychologist are huge.
Mhm.
And I'm talking $100, $130 per week for 2 years just to get
Mhm.
supervision. So I was working, I don't know, 14-hour days for about at least 2 years of that. And I forego everything. It was
Mhm.
probably the hardest time in my life. And yeah, I was eating, you know, literally, as Dave Ramsey says, rice and beans, beans and rice, noodles. You know,
Pasta, all the things that are cheap but not great for the
no,
waistline.
no, not good for the body. But I was having shakes, like
Yeah,
because they're cheap and easy. I was also I couldn't eat McDonald's though, like I couldn't afford it.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But lots of carbs, pasta, rice,
yeah,
tuna, um, just bread. But that was also, I don't think you
yeah,
need to do that. Like, but
yeah,
I
yeah.
think
There,
that
yeah,
this was extreme.
yeah. And so, first of all, I just want to welcome Corey, for joining us online as well. She's in the current course, and
Yep.
also Karina, who says this is great content, and it is. And so,
Mm.
let's just say, okay, you finished and you got out of debt. What things come to mind? What were your feelings when you got out of debt that day where you paid it off?
Um, just the day that I paid all of it off, and it was just pure joy, Sherry. It was
Mhm.
happiness, and pride.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I
It was
think,
hard. It was something that was hard, and you sacrificed a lot, and you did it. And
yeah, it
that
was
is
it was
just,
happy tears.
yeah, yeah,
Happy tears. I think that I kind of felt like I was kind of in a good place for the first time, and like I was going to be okay. I felt like I was
yeah,
going to be all right. And yeah, that was the hard thing, because even still, after I paid it off, like, don't get me wrong, because there was still things that I was sacrificing. So my car at the time, it was a good car. I think it was like what was it, a Nissan or something like that. And I eventually traded it in, but it had actually had a gasket problem or something.
mhm.
So it was breaking down like every half an hour, and I had coolant in the back of my
Okay.
car. So I knew nothing about cars, but my brother's really, he's got ASD, autism, but his obsession is cars.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he actually advised me whenever because the front engine would steam up, and then the temperature gauge would be really
Yes.
hot.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I've been
So
there. Yes.
if you've ever had that, so you have to turn the temperature gauge to, turn your aircon on hot so it cools the engine down so it won't overheat.
Yeah.
And I'll always remember that. That's a trauma. And so whenever
Yeah.
anyone
Yeah.
ever mentions coolant, I'm like, I'm all over that. I know about that. I know how to fix a gasket coolant issue.
Yes.
And I would drive not knowing if I would get to work, but I was like, just get me there, just get me there.
Just get,
And
yeah.
then
Yeah.
in my head I'd be like, all right, I might have to pull over because it's getting a little bit too hot. I don't want it to blow. And then I'd put the coolant in, and it would just get me to the next 15 minutes of work.
Yeah.
And I'd get there and I'd be like, at least I'm not in debt. Like,
Yeah.
you know what?
Yes. Yeah.
I'm here. I got from A to B, but I'm not in debt. And you know what? I'm doing better than probably all these people with all of these, situations. They've probably got credit card debt. They probably got this. And I just thought, that's not me anymore. I might have the breaking down shitty car, but you know what? I'm actually probably doing better than that.
Exactly. That's right. And I know when I see really young people driving flashy cars on, and they're looking at me. I remember this one guy, this good little guy, he's looking at me and kind of smiling as he went back by in his sports car. And I just looked at him and said, you fool, because I know you don't own that. No. You were in so much debt and you're trying to impress me, and you did not impress me. And so so in that time you bought your first home, and then let's just go back up to when you had the first session with me.
Yes.
What was we had a money chat, which anyone can have. They can book a free money chat with me. And there you were with your fiance. and tell me what your feelings were during that, or what was something during that chat that you realized, okay, I think I can trust her.
Well, I was with Adam, and he had researched you, and my budget had failed. So at that point I was pretty desperate. I just thought, I'm going to lose him again, because he knows that I'm not good with predicting things in the future and planning for a family and all of the things, planning for a wedding. Like I had paid off the debt, but I hadn't learned how to do it all. And so I thought I was going to lose my partner again. And, even though I have this house, it's a beautiful house. And I'd managed to do that. I should say I saved for my house so that people realize, but my partner actually kind of did all of the planning for me. So I would just go, how much do you think that I can afford this week, for this or makeup? And then he'd be like, oh, let's have a look. And he'd sit down with me and go through my banking, and then he'd tell me, and I would go, right, okay, I've got my card, off I go. And I would always kind of need help with that. And so that's actually how I got enough money for this house. And because of him. And he loved me so much, and he knew that this was not a I'm always improving.
And so when you came to the money chat,
I was nervous. I was super nervous.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, no, I remember. And I
was crying,
there were some
tears. It was the re-trauma, because I'd already been through this, like, about, I don't know, 8 or 7 years ago. And I'm thinking, I've got a house now. Like, I should technically, on paper, anyone would think a 33-year-old or whatever is killing it. But I wasn't. It was him. Yeah. And he's got like 3 or 4 properties, and he's been saving since he was, 8 years old. And he grew up with like a single mom, and so in a housing commission home. So he had that kind of hunger to be a financial guru, like a property developer or something like that.
And that's what happens, is we either do the same thing our parents do, or we do the opposite. And, the thing is we weren't taught in school, financial literacy. Your financial literacy is minimum. Mine was a minimum until I actually learned about it. And so You were at the money chat and you thought, yep, I'm going to do
Push
this.
me over the edge. Well,
yes. And
yeah.
yeah,
It was
we
mainly
did it.
what you did. You said it's okay, and you were listening, and we didn't talk about, sadly, it's not about the money. I think it was all boiled down to trust. And I think that you know, like, I felt like because of, it was mainly because your background, and I'm not overly spiritual or religious. I mean, I go like once a year, Easter and Christmas to church or whatever. But but what did get me through that hard time was actually Dave Ramsey. And then you mentioned that you had very similar beliefs and values, and Dave Ramsey, and you know, mistakes are normal, and that's how we learn. We all make mistakes. And I was like, wow, okay, I think that was what I realized. She gets it. Like, she's been there, and she knows that how vulnerable we are as people when we didn't get that financial knowledge growing up. And I thought, you're going to be able to help me.
Yes. And the thing is, there is no shame. There's no embarrassment. There's no judgment. I have made bad choices financially. You know, when I was single, I basically lived paycheck to paycheck. And so, so then so you had this why. You had this really important why, and throughout this interview, we've talked about those relationships are really important to you. And so let me just see what my next juicy question is. You chose then to do the course. It's the 8-week group course. What were some benefits, a couple benefits of doing it as a group? Did that bring you anxiety? Some people think, oh, you know, or what was a couple benefits of doing it with others?
So benefits of doing it with other people. Well, I'm an extrovert. Like, I naturally gravitate towards people, and I like that kind of group setting. But then the key thing was having that support. So while we were doing the content, everyone's at a different place and different part of their journey. But just you know, we would, in the conversations, we would connect, and like, we would be looking at a video or content about the spending planner, and then someone would say, you know, something in the group chat, and it would just be nice and encouraging to see those positive statements and words of affirmation from fellow group people that were very similar in trying to learn or gain access to a tool that could help alleviate some of their stress. And then also, that fear of judgment, I guess, is not necessarily a thing for me. I guess I'm insecure in other ways in my life. But when it comes to finances, I guess, you know, so many of us have financial issues. And like, I'm not concerned around that aspect. I'm more external, like how I look, or, you know, that kind of thing. And that's my biggest insecurity that I've got to work on. But yeah, it was certainly good to have people there, just the positivity, hearing other people's stories, and that knowing that I'm normal. And that I am not a freak, that everybody is probably, if you have a question, there's probably 2 or 3 other people in that group, like, also like, good question.
Yeah, that's right. And you say that, you know, we were everyone's normal, yet we actually, through the course, we became financially weird because we aren't normal anymore. Because we have a spending plan. And so tell me a couple of the lessons why you love your spending plan.
Okay, so the first thing would be I now know when I can spend things, and it's way into the future, so it predicts things ahead of time. I really like that. Also, the second thing is that it makes me take ownership and accountability. And every week you have to kind of do like a little check over your finances. So I kind of feel like I'm more aware of where and how my money's being distributed. Whereas before, Adam was kind of more aware of that. Like if you asked, sadly, if you asked both of us what my mortgage was, and this is my house in my name, he would know what my mortgage was. And
Yeah.
and now I know what my mortgage is. So,
Yeah.
so I feel like I'm now more aware of just the basics. And I also have to check that things are happening the way that is meant to be happening. So if I'm
Yeah.
meant to get a bill and it doesn't come out on a certain day, or it's like changed, or something's different, then I'll be like, why is that different? Whereas before I could have totally missed that. I wouldn't have
Yeah,
even cared.
exactly.
But
Yeah,
I'm
your
down
head was in the
$50.
sand. Yeah,
Yeah.
where now we're out and seeing the sunshine.
Yeah.
And so here,
In the
just 3
sunshine.
months later from when you met me, what
Yeah.
has and you trusted me and you decided to join the spending plan, how has it impacted your daily choices in that time? And I'll just give you a little hint: pizza.
Oh, yeah. What do you mean by like pizza? Maybe I don't get pizza. I don't know.
No, I'll just share, you were sharing that your fiance wanted to
Oh,
do
yeah,
pizza
yeah,
that night, and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you in the
I
past
just
would have
shut him
been there,
down.
yep, let's
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
But instead,
That
what
was
did you
last week.
say?
Yeah, I said, look, I'd love to, but I can't afford it. And I didn't know that I couldn't afford it. And I'm not used to saying that, like to say no. But it worked out in my favor because he paid for my chicken wings and I got free chicken wings because he wanted me to enjoy that with him. And but I was quite happy to cook dinner. We had food at home.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of it would always be him saying, you can't afford that, like it's not in your budget, and it's not an Excel spreadsheet. And then I'd be like sulking and being a child, but this time I was like, no, love you, but you can have pizza, it's also fattening for us. But it was kind of nice to get to get that I'm not going to say power, but just
Well, you were the parent at that point. Well, you were being your own
parent. Yes, I
parent
was
of your own finances. You didn't need
Yep.
someone else to tell you. You told him. You actually, showed
Yeah.
him that you are now taking over that role that you so wanted.
Yes.
Okay, so just kind of finishing off, there will be people out there who are feeling like you were or are where you were, and the feelings that you had when you had the debt and you just found that your budget wasn't working and you had your head in the sand. What would you say to those people who are considering that they need to do something, but they're just not sure? They might have that shame and embarrassment, and they're thinking, oh, you mean it's going to cost a little bit of money and a little bit of time to do that, but I don't have money. What would you say to them in regards to what the investment you gave, the small investment of time and money? What would you say to those people?
Oh, look, you've got nothing to lose, and it's and everything to gain, because it's yes, I actually think that if you went to some other place, or you did nothing, it's a lot worse. It's a lot worse. So you have to come up with a plan to change. But I think that you will get there. Like, it's not the end of the world. It's not. Let's not catastrophize. You might not be able to afford it just yet, but at least have a plan in able to get you into the course, the eight weeks, that you can kind of meet some people, learn, or even just like I was even thinking for my dad, to help him because he's, ready to retire as
Mm,
well. Like it's all
mhm,
different types of people. Um,
mm,
credit card debt, or it doesn't look okay, you don't have the money, but talk to people. Yeah, they who want the best for you. And maybe it could be a birthday present or a
mm.
Christmas present to you to actually, and that takes a huge step for you to admit that, hey, it's like alcoholic anonymous, right? Like the first step is admitting that you've got a problem. And if you can get through that hurdle and say, shit, like,
Mhm.
oh, I don't want to live like this. I've had it. I've had it. This is toxic. I'm hurting myself. Um, I'm embarrassed. I'm talking to my children, and in their like no one. You can't keep living like that. You've got to think. Okay, I've got to come up with a plan to at least meet some people and want to have a better life. And
Yeah.
it's a little bit of pain for a lifetime of relief. Um, and, you know, it, it will trickle into the other areas of your life. So instead of kind of wallowing in your self-pity or, kind of maybe you might, I don't know, go and get smokes or go and just make it worse, which we all do with eating and,
Mm.
spending more on the credit card, just going nuts. I mean,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I must say, I had huge anxiety in the week leading up to the 8 weeks, and I went a little bit crazy. I'm not
Mhm.
going to lie. I
Your
probably
last little,
I did. It was kind of like before you go on a diet, but I realized that I kind of overspent. I bought a
Mm,
little bit too much than what I should have. Um, you might find that might happen to you too, but at least if you've got that week, you'll realize, oh my gosh, it's actually, what was I worried
yeah,
about? Like,
yeah,
I,
yeah.
I mean, it'll be worth it, and you got to make the change. I think it's
Yeah.
got to come from the heart. Yeah.
And you mentioned you have to have a plan, and that's exactly what we do. And as a
Mm.
spending planner, um, I walk you and literally hold your hand through
Yes.
every step of the way, literally,
Without judgment. I don't know how
without,
you do that. Because I
yes,
think we're due for another chat soon, and I'm like, oh my God.
yeah. And so,
Oh,
we have people, a lot of people within the 8 weeks, they will pay for the cost of the course, which is it's not as much as think. It's
no, it's super cheap.
497 for an 8 week course, and there's 12 and a half hours of just group coaching.
That's
Plus, you
the
get
thing.
some one-on-ones with me. Plus, you get some other things. There's so much that's in it.
Yes, even
You
Adam
can't
was
afford
shocked,
not to
Sherry.
do it.
No, Sherry, Adam was like, are you kidding me? Like, this is
Yeah,
life
yeah,
changing stuff.
it
And
is life
he
changing.
couldn't believe that it was as cheap as it was. And we actually had this wedding account which was purely for wedding only.
Yeah,
But we spoke about it and we used some of the wedding account money, which was both
yeah,
jointly our
yeah, yeah.
savings. But we used that to do the course. And he said, in comparison to, for example, and I'm not trying to
Yeah,
downplay, but
yeah,
other programs out there, like which was $5,000 like a year or something, it added up to 6 grand. I'm like,
yeah.
this is nothing. And you were exactly as you said, you actually came and really like got me out of my crisis freak out mode and pulled me out of despair, and look at where I am now. I'm
Yeah,
much better, much
yeah.
happier
I'm
too.
so I'm
Mm,
so proud of you, and it's been
mm,
lovely working with you. So
thanks,
since
Sherry.
having a spending plan, you are now financially independent,
Yeah.
and you're aware of your financial situation, and you're able to afford your needs, your
Yes.
wants, and your
Yes.
really wants, because the spending plan will tell you. And if it's not, if your really wants, you can't have it today, maybe you can have it next week, but it will tell
Yeah.
you when you can have it. It's a spending plan.
Yeah.
And that's
It's
what's so
not never.
exciting.
Yeah, it's not like
It's
the
not
budget.
never, it's just
No.
not today.
Yeah,
And it will
exactly.
tell you the date, literally the date that you can
Yeah.
have what you
And
want.
it's like, oh, okay, I can go
Exactly. So
shopping.
that's right. And so you get more enjoyment when you get to spend that money. That's why we are happy spenders. Allison has joined. I'm a happy spender because we plan our spending, we save for it, and then we happily spend because we definitely deserved it.
Yeah, actually, it's so true, that happy spending thing, because before, when I'd spend and I'd overspend, or as we've spoken about, I'd always feel guilty. But
Yeah.
now I'm like, no, I'm happy to spend.
Yes, because you're entitled to spend
Yeah.
because you
Yeah.
save for it.
Yeah.
And I know you will never get into debt because you know the feelings that debt brings. And your new rule is, one, to be financially weird, and to save.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Spend.
my big thing. Yeah.
That's it. No, you do not have to go into debt other than for a home, and that, because that's an asset. But everything else other than a home
Yeah.
is consumer debt, and we need
Yeah.
to save before we spend. So
That's right.
thank you, Allison. I'm so grateful for you coming on today and
Thanks,
sharing
Sherri.
your story. I know that so many people will resonate with you because there are so many normal people that have debt,
Yeah.
that don't have the financial literacy, are frustrated with their broken budget, and are looking for another way, a better way, a proven way that they
Yeah.
can have financial peace, so they can
Yes.
resurrect those dreams that they did have as a child, bring them back to life, because a spending plan will allow you to do that. And through the help of myself, who is just so passionate to help everyone get a plan and live their plan. Allison now is in our membership.
Oh, yeah.
It's a monthly membership, which
And-
is great value in itself.
It really is. It's only like $12.50 a week. So I'm just like, it's like,
Exactly.
for me, that's awesome. Like,
Exactly.
and
She
for
gets
peace
that
of mind,
accountability.
yeah, I need that support. I need that, like you said, hand holding. So
Yeah.
I need someone to, like, even though I think that I've understood and I kind of sink it in, but I need, like I said, this is a lifelong, I think, trauma for a lot of people. And I don't use that word lightly, because I think, there's PTSD and complex PTSD, but I would say, like, for me, it's something that when you've lived it, it's not going to happen overnight. It will take time. That's why even the 8-week course, like, things happen, families get sick, things change, but that's why I'm in the membership, because I'm like, well, this is a pattern. I know I'm vulnerable to messing up again. It's like, okay, a smoker, they're at a party, people are smoking, you want a cigarette. Like, I know that I'm vulnerable to wanting what I want when I want it. And I've got to take accountability. And eventually I'd like
And you will get there. At the moment,
but for now, I'm like, no, I need, like, for so many years I've had, my partner. And so to transition to just cold turkey, me on my own, I know that that's not good for me. So I have to get that one-on-one support. It's like I don't know, I don't see it like a personal trainer, but it's like a financial therapist.
Yeah. I'm a mentor. I mentor people. I motivate people.
Mentor.
And that's what I do. And I've had many ones in mind as well.
Thank you, Sherri. Yeah. Thank you for everything.
Yeah. And thank you for all those, Corey, Giza, Karina, Sandy, all those who joined on today. I know that you've been uplifted. And if you are considering, if you are just even curious, then book a chat with me. It's just free. I do not, I give you some information and let you think on it, because I know what we do and I know what this plan does, that it works.
Yeah.
And I allow that to give to you and to do it when it's best for you. So thank you, Allison.
Thanks, Sherri.
Today it was a longer than usual, but I knew it and I had planned on that. I will see you next Tuesday for our next Essential Money Talks. If you want, and someone that you've been listening, I want to learn more, on Wednesday night, which is tomorrow night at 6 p.m. to 7 p.m., I do an information webinar. And so it's why budgeting is broken and a spending plan is the answer. So come along to that and bring your friends to learn more. And if not, you'll see some links down below to for that, as well as to book a money chat via Zoom. And we will see how you too can become a happy spender like Allison. Okay, thank you.